Aïvanhov. End of the dream, end of the myth of creation. March 22, 2020. Well, dear friends, I'm extremely happy to see you again, and allow me, first of all, to convey to you all my blessings. So evidently, today I do not intend to answer your questions, but I hope that what I have to say to you will ultimately answer all the questions that you may have during this period. So, as you live it from all over the earth, you see that the conditions on the theater stage are changing in a very, very special way. So of course, I would like to come back to an expression that we had been using for many years, which was the point of view. Today, everything that takes place, everything that you live, everything that you perceive in relation to what takes place on your inner theater stage, but also for the first time, in a way that is, I would say, more and more collective at the level of humanity, is very exactly what allows you, as has been said, to adopt all possible points of views. Let me express myself. The same theater scene that you live, can be seen, perceived, interpreted and lived in all possible ways, and each of you lives his truth, that is to say, you observe before your eyes very exactly the conscious co-creation that you have been exercising for 2 to 3 years, to find yourself, extremely precisely in the situation that was most suitable for you, to live the absolute, to live the truth. That is to say that the intelligence of the light, no longer by small touches, but by a phenomenon of collective synchronicity within the dream, has brought you very precisely where you are, and also there in what you think, what you believe and what you live. That is your point of view, that is to say that the circumstances of the collective theater scene of the dream of the illusion of creation have placed you exactly in what was necessary, for you, to live at this moment, and in what is happening at this moment, to find yourself. That's why on the stage of the theater and of the simulacrum all these calls to stay lit are an invitation to find yourself, but find yourself where? Not only at home, not only in the cessation of all social or societal interactions, but in the best position in front of yourselves. And of course, there is through this a principle, I would say, who has been active on the earth and who is touching on its epilogue at the moment, which is what has been called the law of retribution, or if you prefer, the law of action-reaction that puts an end to its own law of its own accord to make way for the action of grace. So, if you prefer, during what you have to live, I would say an event of a collective nature, whether your point of view is to say that it does not exist, that it is true, that it is created by man, that it is created by the cosmos, that it is created by everything you can imagine as an unbridled technology that exists on Earth, is of absolutely no importance. But it is the positioning that has been induced by the collective dream that puts you in the most adequate situation to live, I would say, the end of the dream or the end of the nightmare. So evidently, all of this adjusts from hour to hour, from day to day, from week to week. There is a kind of distortion of time, that is to say that if you're in silence, in the embrace, in the crossing, even without being in the gape, everything seems harmonious, peaceful. On the other hand, if you were evidently in combat, in fear, of the New World Order, of diseases, of war or of anything else, you will necessarily be confronted with that, depending on where you are precisely on the surface of this earth in the here and now. And the most difficult thing will be not to judge yourself, the most difficult thing is not to feel guilty in one way or another, but to make sure as much as possible that you remain in this kind of neutrality that we have called the observer, so that you can literally allow yourself to take it, to go through who you are, if I may say so, in this period of collective end of the dream. So of course, there is a succession of events on this stage that concern you collectively, wherever you are on this planet, and it had always been said in recent times, in recent years, that the more time passes, the more all the events that had been announced, not only what we had told you, but also what had been seen by countless prophets in all corners of the planet, are unfolding before your eyes. It's an important opportunity to find you again, and especially to allow you to cross over. I would say, in any case, you have no choice but to acquiesce and accept. So of course, some of you, and I know that you're and head chief too, are interested in what's going on, but also perhaps through the different studies you've done or the different interests you have in life, you're interested in certain aspects, societal, medical, economic or otherwise, and others are quietly going about their inner workings. But also according to the circumstances you have created since all your dreams, you find yourself in a space of solution. so you can call it confinement, quarantine, containment. In short, it doesn't matter. From the instant that you accept what is happening, from the instant that you let yourself go through without being carried away by the collective emotion, or the collective reason, you discover that you have always been there, as we were telling you. That is to say that, paradoxically, the more the chaos grows, the more you'll understand and grasp who you're in truth, beyond your age, beyond your country, beyond your form, and this with increasing ease. But you still have to be careful not to be literally attracted by the elements, I would say, societal elements, viruses, or other things, because obviously, it is the same theatre scene that is, at the same time, at this moment, as the head chief said, the simulacrum and the sacred that are playing exactly the same symphony. It all depends on where you look. If you look from the societal aspect, it's evidently the collapse, the global extinction as we predicted, and Bida told you that. In other words, he was telling you that the discovery of the truth will simply end this world, and that's exactly what is happening. And if you're really in the present instant, in the truth of the instant, in a gape or not anyway, you'll soon realize that everything that was a relief, difficulty, anguish, fear, even disease, will disappear almost instantly. But it is still necessary that you are not, really, distracted by the simulations of what is being played, either at home or on your screens which are still working. Of course, this also means that you have entered the ultimate scene of the myth, as Bida said, of creation. It is up to each one of you to find yourself. You can no longer and you will no longer be able to count on anything external, but only the turning around in yourself and within yourself, the most sincere and honest, without judgment, without apprehension, will make you live and discover the truth of eternity. It is awfully simple, but one must still accept this simplicity. And of course, I am not going to dwell on your viruses which, I remind you, what you call viruses, is only pollution of the astral, and corresponds to the astral. It is therefore the total eradication of the astral, or if you prefer, the purification of emotional states which have not been resolved, which have not been taken into account, which have not yet been crossed, which are revealed to you, and the same exactly on a mental level and on the causal level. And the two, either there is reaction or there is acceptance. Acceptance does not deprive you of reacting in a second step to the purely human logic of life preservation, but the only safe conduct in what is unfolding is really the igneous, vibrational, and etheric vibrational field of your heart. It is the only one that allows you not to succumb, then what you call, to the virus, but what I would call in a deeper way, what I have called for years, fear or love. And everything will be directed in a kind of bath where there is at the same time the collective, at the same time the pseudo-individuality, at the same time the collective consciousness and the consciousness in all its pseudo-individual and personal dimensions, which enter in resonance, in confrontation, but also into truth. Remember some of the teachings we gave you at the time. I come back, for example, to Osho's laziness, which I invite you to reread, to re-immerse yourself. Because it is in you that the garden of delights is to be found and, indeed, as Christ said a long time ago, does the bird care about what it will eat tomorrow? It is the eternal nourishment, the celestial manna, which is rushing towards you, from the radiance of the innumerable interdimensional cosmos, the multiverse as it had been said, which are hitting the earth at an uninterrupted rate. We're in your skies, more and more images will appear. We show directly the different, what you call spaceships that are present in your skies, but which are, above all, present in your heart and which are revealed today. So, do not judge anything more than ever, just accept a crossover and you will discover a peace like no other, that no element of consciousness, of its projection, of its perception, of its lived experience, of its even supraconscious aspects, can approach, that is to say, Shanti Nilaya. Shanti Nilaya is for everyone at this moment the illustration of suffering or love, of fear or love, and is lived every minute in you, and it is up to you to see this truth, and especially to live it and find yourself. And there will be no better condition than the one in which you are immersed, individually and collectively, to find yourself again. There is no point in making great speeches. Of course, the game of light and shadow will continue before your eyes for some time. But I would say with an increasingly raw and devastating light, I would say, for your ultimate beliefs, and I would say in society, and I would even say in humanity as it has existed until now. you are going to discover this ultimate truth that does not require demonstration, that does not require energy, that does not require vibration or vision, but that takes you directly, individually and collectively, to the heart of the heart, that is to say what we have called, for years, stashes and the 3 days. Everything that I have told you for many, many years, through this channel, or other channels, at other times, has always been dictated by the need to lead you to that most perfect state of innocence, to live what you have to live. Today everything is reduced to this simple thing. Simply be in this acceptance, this embracing of everything that happens on the screen of the theater scene, on the screen of your dreams, on the screen of your lived experiences, on the very circumstances in which you are at this very moment, which are, as you can see, for some extremely pleasant, and perhaps for others extremely unpleasant. But whether it is very pleasant or unpleasant, do not forget that there is only one goal, and that is to find yourself in totality. And for the time being you have what you call this virus. Soon the elements that have already been angry for many years will pass to another octave, and just as the signs of heaven, in all their components, will appear before your astonished eyes. Of course, there is no longer any question of looking for the slightest date, because you have entered into the date, with full blast, at the beginning of this year 2020, and that, of course, you'll see for yourselves that all of this will unfold with increasing seriousness, but also with majesty, and this, exactly, for the same theater scene that is lived collectively, regardless of your current point of view. Your ultimate beliefs, your ultimate projections in whatever earth or dimension it may be will appear to you as something extremely childish, and, above all, totally useless. But if you find that you are coming in, at one level or another, in reaction, whether it be against an animal, against a child, against a husband, against a wife, against what is happening on your screens at whatever level, whether it be in the street or on the other side of the planet, can only lead to two things, either anger indeed, or acceptance. And this acceptance will end the anger, will end the identification of yourself with your character, with your life scenario, and then you will experience a great burst of laughter. So of course, you have eminent doctors, eminent brothers and sisters who are struggling left and right to bring you solutions. But these solutions, they are real, but what I mean by that is that these solutions are ultimately only palliative solutions that will take you anyway, in a very short time, to the cosmic and intergalactic events that have been announced by all the prophets and that we, the elders, have been relaying to you for many, many years, with the stars and the archangels. Today the time has come for silence, the time has come to enter into that silent joy, and, above all, to obey in the most fluid and tangible way possible what is happening in your inner screen, but also in your outer projection, wherever you are on this planet. It is no longer a question of fears, emotions, thoughts or knowing who is right or wrong, it is only a question of asking oneself in this silence and accepting what is, because behind every nightmare, behind every suffering, and in an increasingly direct and immediate way, there will be only love. And you yourselves, at that moment, you will be able to face, whatever the state of your body, of your age, of your life, of your shortages even, you will live the cosmic events that are rushing at your door and societal ones as well, with the greatest of liveness, whatever the shock that is going to happen and that is already happening from everywhere on this earth, but also for those who are interested in the distant cosmos. In the whole of creation, all the black holes and all the sources of gamma radiation from all the universes and dimensions have entered into resonance with a gape. And it is the same for your atomic heart, that is to say the seed atom, the one that is just after the rewinding of the film, as Egg used to say, and which will allow you to discover that all this indeed, in truth, is only a bad dream, and that there is no need to dream something else, you are yourself. So don't judge anything of the events, there is a succession of events that are going to happen, there is no question of making the slightest sensationalism or of giving you the succession, the chronology of events. Enlil had already told you after all the scenario that we had spread out in our teachings, in our exchanges that, at a given moment, all of this was going to collide, to be realized exactly at the same time, and that is exactly what is happening. Of course, all this is inscribed in a linear perception, as you live it with the illusion of days, weeks passing by, but in time zero, in silence, in truth, time does not pass. You go through this as something that is, indeed, really, concretely, just a bad dream. And that is how you are doing the greatest service today, of course, to humanity, to yourselves, to the myth of creation, and especially to who you are. Of course, as you can see, some of you are locked up, and others are faced with having to, in one way or another if I may say so, still serve humanity, whether it is to feed it, whether it is to heal it, but it is also for them exactly what was necessary to discover themselves. So remember also what I repeated for many, many years. What the caterpillar calls death, is in truth birth. You find the butterfly. But the butterfly no longer needs form, it no longer needs wings, it no longer needs a script, it no longer needs a story, it only needs the truth that bursts forth and illuminates absolutely everything that needed to be illuminated, as we have already told you and repeated for many, many years. You do not have to make an effort. As soon as you think you have to make an effort for anything, then at that moment, it is that you are not quiet enough, you are not receptive enough, you are very exactly where life was supposed to wake you up, in your dream scenario, for everyone, without any exception, whether it be in the bad boys, those who make mistakes and who want at all costs to make you disappear from the surface of this earth, as in the greatest of the saints who today are struggling to awaken brothers and sisters everywhere to their truth. In any case, everything that was an element of external projection, what you call the societal world, your life in society, you no longer have access to it. You simply have the last screams and the last means of communication. And we had never hidden from you that at the time of the bombardment of intergalactic, cosmic, ultraviolet and Holy Spirit radiation, all of these rays that you call exotic, would rush at the same time, and would, of course, pass through the insulating layers, the last of which was destroyed almost 2 years ago in the Van Allen belt, and which today literally recreates what you would call the information field of time zero. I believe Ebba and Head Chief have explained to you at length these principles of scalar waves, and radiation, and the double terrace of the heart. But you don't even need to understand anything about that today. Of course, some of you may still need vibrational support, mental support, but this is very temporary, because the truth is so accessible and so livable, that you must indeed no longer be interested in all that. Of course, you can monitor the temperature, you can monitor the skies, you can monitor the virus, you can monitor what you want, but more than ever, I repeat to you before anything else, today, take care of yourselves. At the time I was saying about your asses, but that is exactly what I mean. That is how you're aligned in time zero, that is how you're even more available for the truth, not only for yourself, not only to be safe or in the front line, but above all to be in tune with the intelligence of light, which I remind you, you are without exception, no matter what role you play as an actor in this charade, whether it is the doctor who saves lives, or whether it is the one who steals the medication, or who tells you that there is no solution. Everything is done. You have to go beyond the fragmented points of view of the one who claims, of the one who understands, of the one who has clarified things in order to have, I would say, the panoramic points of view of the whole, which is the truth of a gate where there is nothing more to see. And there you'll be tranquil, whatever you go through with your body, and whether you leave your body in a last breath, or whether your body is deprived of one thing or another. It doesn't matter what it is anymore. Be true and authentic in every moment, be available to yourself every minute, and do what life offers you. In any case, you can't offer it anything, less and less. And all this, in this simulacrum which is a vast swindle somewhere, plays the game of the sacred. I hope you will soon realize that it is useless to feel deprived of anything, when all this apparent deprivation is only in a fullness. As soon as you accept to look into it, simply, and not to claim as a personality or ego, or spiritual pride, any ascendancy over anything, over anyone, or even over yourselves. The real discipline, it's there. It is not to compel oneself to this or that, but in this discipline, if I may say so, to accept what is. Because whatever you do, as Bida said, you can't change anything, what must be will be, what must not be will not be, in one way or another, and with more and more evidence, with more and more clatter, with more and more collective and individual certainty, as the days now pass in this scenario. That is what I had to say. Evidently, if there are events related more specifically to what I would call cosmic signs, that is to say the appearance, as I said, of the intergalactic confederation in all of your skies, or the intervention of cosmic phenomena related to the cosmos itself, evidently you will be informed directly by raising your eyes to the sky for once outside. Of course, we're at your disposal, not so much to tell you stories, nor to bring you anything other than the interdimensional spatial gate resonance that each of you is called upon to achieve without any difficulty. Simply, as I said at the beginning of my speech, by the very principle of acceptance. Everything else afterwards is extremely easy, whether it is for shortages, whether it is for societal aspects, and even in the places, I would say, where you're enclosed within. None of that matters anymore. Of course you'll tell me, you have to survive, but survive what? Love. Or to live love. It is not at all the same thing. Ask yourself the right questions, ask yourself the right choices, which in fact are not choices, but life has placed you literally and progressively where you were meant to be. So accept it first of all, whether you are, I repeat, in the most heavenly or the most appalling circumstances, it makes no difference in what you will have to live through. I am not going to dwell on this, and I will not answer questions today. This was the intervention, I would say a little more solemn, which I am evidently making on behalf of the entire intergalactic confederation of free worlds, and, above all, now, in the name of the naked truth of the agape love of the one who is to be found through silence, through the acceptance of what is, and what cannot be, beyond all future, all anticipation and all tergiversation. If you accept to live this, then you are free, but in an almost instantaneous way. There is no longer any belief that can hold in any energy, in any God or in any future, because everything has come, everything is there, absolutely without exception, in the whole of what we have been telling you for so many years. Of course, not everything is visible to you, but it is all part of the scenario at the times you are living in right now. Our radiation and our interdimensional spatial gate radiance, of course, is also at work in all dimensions as in all creation, as I have told you, through the intensification of resonances on all sides and in all dimensions, resulting in you in what you call the Schumann resonance. But also everything that takes place at all levels, even at the level of the morbid games of society, or viruses, no matter whether they originate from man, the earth, the sky or elsewhere. They are only a revealing agent, and just as you are the one who is the target of this revelation, the revelation of yourself, beyond any concept, beyond any world, beyond any reflection, beyond any questioning and beyond any precipitation. You are going to have time, because the present has become, no longer the thin present of the one who ran to his occupations, his obligations, his responsibilities, but the white present of the one who no longer has much to do, but simply to be true and to be true. And there are no better circumstances than the present to realize and live it. Allow me to pass on to you all the blessings of the entire intergalactic confederation of free worlds, and pass on all your blessings to one another as well. And you have nothing else to do, except to accept all that is happening now, and that is growing, and that can no longer, as we have been telling you for more than a year now, there will be no turning back. So those who still plan to want to retain in their little habits, in their little professions or in their big companies, can immediately put down all their luggage, and I advise them to be very, very lazy, in relation to all these projections in whatever future, because we have been preparing you for years. Whoever thinks that there is a future whatever it is today, cannot live the joy of the present moment. It's as simple as that. And everything that was outside projection, and societal, and earning a living, and moving around, it's all fading away, as you can see. There's still an impression of life through your screens and your modern means of communication, but it's not much to hold on to. You see, the infinitely small can sometimes turn out to be much vaster, and much greater, than anything you could imagine or perceive, or live. That's the unknown, and that's the absolute, and that's agape. The end of the dream, the end of the myth, all that is to be lived. We are with you, we're in you, we are also in your heavens, but we are also you in other spaces time, in other dimensions, there is only you. With that, the Commander presents you with all his homage and sends you all his blessings, and I believe this is the first speech I have made that is so short, and that is very good, because you have all the time in the world. I tell you, see you soon, certainly. Goodbye. Through Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. English Revised Translation. LMF.